Let us play a little game here. I will impersonate what someone said just recently, and you will try to guess who that was. Therefore, it is not a question of allowing the Ukrainian regime to strike Russia with these weapons or not allowing it. This is about making a decision on whether NATO countries are directly involved in the military conflict or not. If this decision is made, it will mean nothing less than the direct involvement of NATO countries, the United States and European countries in the war in Ukraine, said, guess who? That's right, Putin. That is right, yeah, he said it, literally. So, what was it anyway? Another red line? Really? After Ukraine has crossed all the red lines imaginable, including that of Russian border actually, and invaded Russia back in Kursk region, and no army did that in last 100 years, Putin now, warns NATO. So, what was the case with that permission to hit Russia with Western weapons? Here are pros and cons wrapped up for you.
By giving Ukraine more weapons, we can make Putin realize he cannot get what he wants by force, and make it so costly that he will have to accept Ukraine has a sovereign democratic right to persist as a sovereign democratic nation. The paradox is that the more weapons for Ukraine we are able to deliver, the more likely it is that we can reach a peace and end to the war.
This also means that Germany will not lift range restrictions. This is not compatible with my personal position. Olaf Scholz, Chancellor of Germany.
Well, I wonder, would it make Scholz's position more compatible if Russian missile will hit Bundestag one day? Well, anyway, here I quote some CNN for you. This September, Zelensky is employing a strategy of more openly challenging his allies, and that, combined with Russia's open threat that any lifting of restrictions on their use would mean war with NATO, has turned the issue of firing these missiles into Russia into a political touchstone and ultimate determinant of the extent of Western support. Zelensky has refused to allow the topic to fall out of the headlines, publicly criticizing his allies' hesitation after a Russian strike on a military educational facility in Poltava killed more than 50 people earlier this month. Every day of delay is unfortunately the death of people, said Zelensky. Well, if you ask me if I believe the West will allow us in Ukraine to use these long-range weapons, no, I don't. As this version of Western political authority is way too timid and intimidated by even Putin's eyebrow going slightly up, they immediately call that an escalation threat and step back and let Putin kill another 5 or 10 Ukrainian children just to keep it on the same level of escalation, whatever that means. Well, maybe, and hopefully, I am wrong. And Ukraine will get this permission shortly. But what I know for sure is one thing. If the West will not allow Ukraine to use Western weapons against Russian aggression to defend itself right now, then the West itself will inevitably end up doing the same thing on its own in way larger warfare. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and all gender-fluid persons, of course, would be a real escalation.